When it comes to an earthquaking trade in the NBA, nobody to call upon better than Ira Winderman of the Sun Sentinel. We have to talk about this Anthony Davis deal going to the Lakers. What was your assessment of it?
My assessment was that LeBron James, Rich Paul, and Anthony Davis got what they wanted. That they sort of, I don't want to say gamed the system, but it was going to be too hard for anyone else to give something up and not guarantee that Anthony Davis re-signs for him. So LeBron James' final years of his career become relevant. The Lakers take the ultimate chance, all in now. You know what, Chris? This reminds me of the Brooklyn Nets where they got Kevin Garnett and they got Paul Pierce. And they paid for it for years. They're all in. I like what New Orleans is doing. They're going to own the Lakers draft into the 2020s. They're in good shape. I think two teams come out ahead, but again, what happens with the rest of the Lakers? Remember, that Western Conference still is going to be awfully competitive.
What is the trickle-down effect of this trade, though? Because we saw in an ESPN article yesterday that Dion Waiters is a potential trade candidate for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be all kinds of things with the draft right now. From the Anthony Davis trade, you have that number 4 pick that the Pelicans own, but do they want something more immediate? So all of a sudden you can say to yourself, who might work for that pick? Well, certainly you can say Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson, Bam Adebayo. Would the Heat trade any of them for number 4? Would the Heat look at Golden State and say, you know what? You're a year or two away with players now with Klay Thompson injured, Kevin Durant injured, maybe not coming back. That's where the Dion Waiters thing started. I think the Heat would sell. I think they would look to their future. But, Chris, I don't know if they give up any of their 3 young prospects for number 4 right now. Now, if you can give up one of those guys and get rid of a contract like Dion or James Johnson, this could get very interesting by draft night, 7 p.m. on Thursday.
Speaking of contract situations, Goran Dragic this week opting into his contract for next year. But Hassan Whiteside has yet to do so. Where do they stand with that?
Well, this is interesting, Chris, because once you opt in, you become trade eligible. So a bunch of people are saying, why would Goran opt in? His deadline is June 29th, as is Hassan Whiteside. I think Goran agreed to opt in because now if the Heat make a trade, it'll be a place maybe he wants to go. Maybe back to Phoenix, maybe to Dallas to play with fellow Slovenian Luka Doncic, maybe to Boston if they lose Kyrie Irving. So I think that's part of it. I think Hassan waits to the last minute because he knows the way it ended. He's not a starting center. He's making almost $30 million. He knows his future is not really here at the moment. So I could see the Heat trying to solicit offers. I think if his deadline's the 29th, I think that's around when you're going to hear from Hassan. I would not guarantee that Goran or Hassan will be in the opening night lineup. I'm not guaranteeing that they'll be here at the trade deadline. The Heat are taking the long view. These are both expiring contracts. To be free agent players in 2020 or 21, honestly, Chris, they can't afford either.
You're talking about free agents, and Jimmy Butler says he's going to test the free agent waters. In the past, he has said Miami is a spot he would be interested in. How realistic would that conversation be?
Well, I think Pat Riley will listen to anyone and anything. Again, it has to be a sign and trade. That makes it that much harder, Chris, because not only do the Heat have to agree, does Jimmy Butler have to agree, but the Philadelphia 76ers have to say, oh, yeah, we want those guys. We'll take those guys back. So let's say they maybe are interested in a package of Josh Richardson and Goran Dragic. This comes back to where you and I stood last October. Are you comfortable, Chris, spending what will be $40 million on Jimmy Butler when he's 34 or 35 years old? There's a long view component to that as well.
He's 29 years old, and he wants to win now. I don't know if this is the team that he would want to be with in order to be able to win right now. The NBA draft coming up Thursday night, 13th overall pick for the Heat. What are you hearing and where they're going to go with that selection?
Well, I know no one wants to hear it. They're going to take the best player available, except when you have this roster and you're not looking for this year or next year as your year of decision. I think you do go in that direction. I'd like to see the Heat think out of the box. I mean, there are guys like Brandon Clark and P.J. Washington and Keldon Johnson who we're all going to say on draft night, hey, the Heat got a nice player. I want to see something intriguing. Kevin Porter, he could be a bust. He had trouble. He had maturity issues at USC, or he could be great. Bol, 7'3", outside shooter, shot blocker, like no one we've seen in the NBA. Again, could be great, could be a bust. I'd like to see them take a chance, all things being equal. If the player is available, I like Rui Hachimura. I like what he did at Gonzaga. He's sort of LeBron-esque, and I'm not saying LeBron-esque, not LeBron, in that when he gets his head of steam going to the basket, that's sort of your modern physical combo 3-4, sort of like the top of the draft with Zion Williamson. I think it'll be intriguing. I also think there's a chance he can be gone just ahead of the Heat to Minnesota or to Charlotte. So maybe we're talking trading up as well.
Interesting. Rui's from Japan. Be
Yes.
the Heat's first player from Japan.
He'd be like the third in the NBA, and he would basically be the first-round draft choice from Japan also. So you have the marketing factor there also, and I'd probably have to make a long trip for an exhibition game in about a year.
What are the odds, though, I do want to ask you about this, of them moving off the pick and trading it away?
Yeah, I think, again, this isn't the summer of determination for the Heat. Is it more important to get off money? I'm almost concerned about this, Chris, to a degree. Would the Heat be more concerned about getting off James Johnson's money, or he mentioned Dion Waiters' money, by maybe trading down or trading out? In other words, we'll give you 13 if you take the contracts of James Johnson, of Dion Waiters. I think the Heat are saying everything is about 2020 or 2021 offseason. It's going to be tough. Until the Heat make that pick and someone puts on their hat and then Woj or someone tells us they're actually going to keep him, I won't be sure. Because, again, do you want a marginal talent who makes you nominally better, or do you want to set up a moment for something great a few years down the road?
It should be Woj, Shams, and Ira. Ira Winderman of the Sentinel.
If I can get paid like that, it'd be great. Thank you, Chris. You're my agent.
We'll catch you back here after the draft.